method resetQuiz, which as you can see here starts at line 102, is where we're going to load up the various names of the assets in the assets folder that can be used in this quiz, and then separately we're going to pick the random flags that make up the current 10-question quiz as well. Now the first thing we do here at line 106 is use the inherited method getAssets to load up or get the asset manager for our activity. And what this does is it gives us something that's capable of accessing the various files in the assets folder. We also clear our file name list because when we call resetQuiz, it's due to the fact that we're starting a new quiz, so we want to empty that list because the user may have changed the set of regions, for example, that are part of the current quiz, and we're going to just reload this file name list from scratch. Next thing we have is a try-catch sequence because we're doing a bit of file I/O here by interacting with the asset manager. And the first thing we do is get a key set from our regions map, which gives us all the keys in the map, and we store that as a set of strings. Then for each of those keys, we go to the regions map and get the value for that key, and that's going to be a value of either true or false. If the value is true, that means that region is included in the current quiz, and therefore we will load up the list of file names for that region. So whatever the name of the region is corresponds to one of the folders in the assets folder. And so for example, if Africa is included, this paths array of strings is going to contain the names of all the different files in the Africa folder. The next thing we do is we walk through that list of paths and we add them to the file name list. However, we remove the .png extension by replacing .png with an empty string in each case. Now if anything goes wrong while I'm performing the tasks in the try block, you can see that we catch the I/O exception and we log it by invoking the E function of the log class, which is a static function, a static method, and it's basically indicating that an error occurred, and we log that error message with the tag that we created at the beginning of the class, and then a string indicating the problem that occurred, and finally we provide the exception object as well, which will cause the error message and stack trace to be displayed that indicates exactly what went wrong. Now, we're currently in the so-called Java perspective within Eclipse here, but if you go up in the upper right corner here, you see that we have this button Open Perspective, and we also have this double arrow that indicates other perspectives that I've opened in the past, one of which is DDMS. With the DDMS perspective, if I switch over to there, you can see that we have this tab called logcat, and it's got lots of messages being displayed in it. And you can see one of the columns is the tag. This is where the string that you specify for the tag will show up if the error message occurs while you're running the app. Now, up here in the upper left corner, we have the list of devices that are displaying messages. So if I want to see messages coming from my AVD, I can select my emulator and it will display its messages down here. Or if I want to work with an actual device that's connected, so this is my Nexus S phone, when I click that, it changes the set of messages that are displayed here to messages that are being logged on the phone itself. And if I were to start playing with that phone right now and changing apps and doing other things, you would start seeing messages go by on the screen. Every single log message is going to be reported by the logcat utility, which is one of the Android utilities that's available to you inside of Eclipse. So that's a nice handy way to help you with your debugging as well. Anytime you get any kind of exception, you probably want to log it so that you can then go look through those logs and see what's going on inside of your app. I found that to be an invaluable piece of or set of information as I was debugging the apps for these live lessons videos and the corresponding book, Android for Programmers. Now, because we're starting a new quiz, we also set correct answers to 0, total guesses to 0, and we clear out the quiz countries list, which is the one that contains the 10 correct answers. Then at line 136 and 37, we start with a flag counter set to 1. We're going to do 10 flags. The number of total flags we can choose from is the size of the file name list, and that's going to again be dependent on the regions that are enabled. And then we have a while loop that's going to keep looping as long as flag counter is less than or equal to 10. We will randomly pick a number from the number of flags that we have available to us, which will be the index of the particular flag we want to use. We will get that from the file name list and store it here. And then at lines 147 through 151, if the quiz countries list does not already contain that file name, we will add it to the quiz countries list and increment our flag counter. So we'll keep going in this loop until we have 10 unique country flag names that we can then use in the quiz, at which point we will then call load next flag, which is going to physically load and display the first flag image.